Hello guys, Crudeless here and welcome back to another episode of World of Warcraft Leveling Legacy. In this one we are going to journey to Azeroth once more and visit another one of the areas that are still back in time before the late launch of Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm back in the Burning Crusade. I'm talking of course about one of the last race we haven't visited yet, the Draenei, or the Draenei as they call themselves. And here we have our priest. She is called Vadina, and she will be the character that we would continue with if you decide to want to see more of her. So as I said in the previous episode, since these zones are outdated, I will do a short video exploring the starting zones, and then we will talk about the lore for the characters so that you have a significant reason as to pick this girl right here to continue off into the next zones. One thing to note is that I will finish these zones off later on, but I won't be doing that just yet. I will take my time and then we'll go back and finish them later on, when the continuity will make sense. But the intro cinematic for the Draenei is updated, so let's take a look and jump into the world of the Azuremyst Isles.
Empowered by the holy light and the undying strength of their convictions, the Draenei led the charge against the demonic Burning Legion in Outland. Now, with the Legion's defeat, they have completed the desperate mission that first brought them to Azeroth. Though some Draenei were sent back to Outland to revitalize their former civilization, the majority have vowed to remain and uphold their sacred commitment to the Alliance. Driven by a powerful vision, the immortal prophet Velen believes that a great war between the darkness and the light is fast approaching, and that Azeroth will be its principal battleground. As one of Velen's chosen, you must stand bravely before the shadow and ensure that your people are ready for the war to come.
So we heard a lot of interesting information right there about the story of the current update for Cataclysm about the Draenei. The Draenei, they are a race of these looking guys. They look like blue spacemen with tentacles coming out of their face. They have hooves, if you can't tell by the fact that I'm wearing a robe right here. Yeah, we have hooves. And yeah, they have a tail as well, as you can see. So characteristically, they are a very alien compared to the other races we have. Yeah, we have crash landed here. Well, the Draenei crash landed on this island right here. It is called the Azuremyst Isle, and it is situated here on the western side of Kalimdor. And these isles here, well, these are called the Azuremyst Isles. More precisely, they are known as the Azure Isle, the Bloodmist Isle, and there are a couple of smaller isles here as well. That are technically, they have their own names, but yeah, like this one here. Wormrest Isle, I believe. Wormscar Island, actually, is the name of this thing right here. This island up here used to be called Silverglade, but it was renamed as a consequence of the crash here. This huge crystal-looking machinery is actually, these crystals here as well, are a part of a ship, a spaceship, because these guys are spacefarers that crashed into Azeroth, and that's how the Draenei got to the planet, more precisely. So they traveled here from Outland. Now, if you've played Warlords of Draenor or Burning Crusade, then you know that Outland is this planet right here. It is actually the this shattered version of let's get the map here, of Draenor. So Draenor was the planet that the orcs came from, that we talked about all the way back in episode 1 or 2, I think. Yeah, this one right here. As you can see, it has kind of similar structure to Outland, and as the orcs basically swore their allegiance to the Burning Legion and started to use fel magic with the warlocks, the world shattered into this here, and a lot of the Draenei that lived there, they became broken because of the magic there, and the land was shattered, and others fled and got here to Azeroth. Well, more precisely, they went into hiding, and then later on they came to Azeroth. So riding now the signature mount of the Draenei. This is the Elec. Looks kind of similar to an elephant, though it has a shorter more dense design, I guess. They have shorter trout as well. Yeah, that's like the signature mount of the Draenei. Also, as I mentioned in the previous episode, or I forgot to mention actually, that I just started to ride the Hawkstrider, which was the designated mount for the Blood Elves in that video, just to show that off and to be loyal to, I guess, the lore and the thing we're telling here. So we just reached the Lake of Ammon Ford right here. That was Ammon Vale back there where we started out. Part of the ship, as you can see, the other ship is called the Exodar, and it's the ship right over here. It's a giant ship created by the Naaru. Now, we spoke about the Naaru in the last episode. They are beings of pure light that have been around since the creation of the universe, what is called the Great Dark Beyond, as it's called. The physical universe, more precisely, and they are close friends with the Draenei. There is the Exodar in the distance, looking amazing with the whole purple gems thing. I forgot to mention that the racials for the Blood Elves in the previous episode, they have like talents for enchanting. The Draenei have talents with they are really good at jewel crafting. If I can find it here, let's see here. Gem cutting right there. They also have a heroic presence, increasing its strength, agility, and intellect of close other players. And they also have the, where is it? The Gift of the Naaru heals the target for 20% of the caster's total health over 5 seconds. As you can see, they get this icon, visual representation of the spell there in front of their head, which is really cool. And they shows their connection with the light, as the narrator mentioned, and also the connection with the Naaru as a consequence. So the Naaru, they built the spaceship right here. It was a part of a larger collection of ships known as the Tempest Keep. And Tempest Keep was in Outland, and it was invaded by Kael'thas Sunstrider that we talked about, and the Blood Elves. They took control of this Naaru ship, and they kidnapped the Naaru. That gave the Blood Elves the blood power and the holy magic that I spoke about at the last seconds or the last minutes of the previous episode of the Blood Elves, and that's why they kind of got the paladins and the holy power. Luckily though, the Draenei here, they were hidden on Outland after the orcs. The orcs fled from Draenor, or Outland as it's now called, to Azeroth. The Draenei managed to scatter around. They were basically living in peace for a while, the orcs and the Draenei, previously on Draenor. They learned a lot of shamanistic skills, and that's why the Draenei can be shamans. When the Burning Legion actually influenced the orcs in a negative way, the Draenei that lived, some of them were killed and sacrificed to open the dark portal to get the orcs into Azeroth. The rest of the Draenei, they went into hiding. Some became broken, some remained, like this guy right here, unbroken. So this is the inside of Exodar, looking freaking amazing. Oh my god, look at this energy, pure energy floating through the crystals here. And we have all of these, the Crystal Hall, the Vault of Lights, and the Trader's Tier. So there's also another cool thing down here as well, in the middle below all this energy. Let's take a look at that first, since we're talking about it. And the Draenei is it's a name that basically means exiled ones. The Draenei didn't originate from Draenor. Funnily enough, the Draenei originally came from a planet known as Argus, and they were previously another race known as the Eredar. So the Eredar, they lived peacefully on Argus with 3 leaders. One was called Archimond, another was called Kil'Jaedan, and the third was called Velen. Now these guys, they had basically their different affinities. So Archimond was really good at planning and I guess warfare and strategies. Kil'Jaedan was more like the deceiver, and he's known as the deceiver now. He was cunning, he was smart and really clever, while Velen was the prophet, and he was basically their moral compass. Here we have Oros, the Naaru, being of pure light, powering this ship right here. Pretty amazing looking creature right there. There is a Naaru in Shattrath as well. There was one in the Sunwell. There are a couple of these guys around. And yeah, Velen, as you heard in the intro cinematic video, he talked about the upcoming war between the light and the dark. And this is one of the big plot points coming in, probably in Legion, as this is recorded before Legion hits, but also afterwards, the battle between the light and the dark, the holy light and the void. But yeah, so we had these three guys, Kil'Jaedan, Archimonde, and Velen, who were like the leaders of the eredar people. And they were like, oh, let's take a look at the traders tier first. Look at these things here in these shawls, almost looking like curtains in the roofs. So the Kil'Jaedan and Archimonde, well, I think it was Kil'Jaedan first. They were contacted by a source that promised them a lot of power, as the eredar were peaceful people. And this creature that promised them power, he claimed that if they followed him and did what he wished, then he would grant them immense power. And Velen was skeptical to following this guy. As it turns out, it was Sargeras, the leader of the Burning Legion. But Archimonde and Kil'Jaedan, they readily accepted the power, and they kind of started they separated their people into two different groups. So the ones that followed Kil'Jaedan and Archimonde, the majority of the eredar became the Man'ari, and the rest followed Velen and became the Draenei, the exiled ones. And Kil'Jaedan and Archimonde still has their agenda of following and basically pursuing Velen and the people, because they are still seeking vengeance. Here we have the big guy right here, Prophet Velen, still around. I think this guy is the most probably one of the oldest creatures in Azeroth as of this moment here. I think he is several thousands of years old, millennias.
Will you join our cause?
As we attempt to gain the help of the peoples of this world against the Burning Legion, we must also learn to live peaceably amongst them. Please keep this in mind as your journey takes you throughout Azeroth. May the light guide you. So yeah, so some perspective on how this guy, the leader, he is basically a holy priest, and he guides the Draenei philosophy of they don't really seek war, as you heard in the video. They have basically finished their purpose here. They are still just joining the Alliance for the sake of helping them out, since the Alliance helped them during the Burning Crusade. But as I said, the Draenei was exiled from Argus. They fled to what was eventually became, they fled through a lot of planets. And the Burning Legion came after him, destroyed the planet, and tried to take Velen, but he somehow got away every time. And that's what happened on Draenor as well. That's why the Burning Legion contacted the orcs originally. Kil'Jaedan wanted to use the orcs to kill the Draenei on the planets. So that was originally why the orcs became a part of the Burning Legion, at least in the regular lore. Not sure about the movie, Warcraft movie lore, but that's like the regular lore for the video game. So the orcs were manipulated by Kil'Jaedan, promised great power, as the same as this Kil'Jaedan and Archimonde was by Sargeras, and they eventually almost massacred the entire Draenei people, as I said previously. And the Draenei fled again, the exiled ones, with the Exodar, fitting name for those, and they got here to Azeroth. And then they landed pretty close here to Teldrassil, so they got in contact with the Night Elves and the humans as well. They also had contact with the Taurun, I believe, and yet they still have this... naturally they joined the Alliance because of their hostilities previously with the orcs. They still can't trust the orcs 100% though, because as they basically performed genocide against the Draenei, the orcs, so they still have little hatred against each other, which is like, I guess it's justifiable. Make our way up here to Bloodmist Isle, or Silverglade. And yeah, that's basically how the Draenei came to be on this planet here. As I said previously, they are really tightly... Well, Velen was approached by the Naaru, the beings of pure light, and they traveled in these immense, like... He was contacted by the Naaru before he was exiled from Argus. And the Draenei gave him this crystal and the power to basically travel really far away with this spacecraft. One of these spacecrafts was known as Oshugun by the orcs, I believe, and it crash landed in Nagrand, or Nagrand in Draenor. And that eventually became a sacred place for the orcs. Here we see the Barrel Coast. These crystals, by the way, the reason this place is called the Blood Mist Isle is because these crystals here reacted with the land below, and it started to inflict like radiation upon the wildlife. So that's why the things are a bit like shit right here. But there is a lot of lore about these zones here, particularly Azuremyst Isles and Blood Mist Isle was. There is much of the storyline in Burning Crusade was pretty bare bones, as I said. There's red water here, looks really cool though, but there is minimal story here. The story for these zones is actually that they were pretty abandoned. There weren't much life here until the Exodar crashed here, so the lands and the animals and the fauna has been developing separate from humans because there hasn't been much interference from people. Here we have Bloodwatch. More of these parts of the Exodar had fallen off once the Draenei entered the atmosphere, which is nice. But the Draenei fled because of Illidan, Kael'thas, and of course Lady Vashj that came to Outland after the orcs had left, of course, most of the orcs during the Burning Crusade, and that's why they got here to Azeroth, as it was close to Draenor in proximity, I guess. But the Exodar is actually an interdimensional spaceship. Well, it's not interdimensional, it's able to travel into the Twisting Nether. I guess the Twisting Nether is a separate dimension, so I guess it is interdimensional. As I said previously, the Twisting Nether is the place that the Blood Elves used to get the Fel magic. It's the energy that drives the demons. That's where the demons live, the Twisting Nether. And it's where if the demon dies here in the real world, they will respawn in the Twisting Nether as well. Some other parts of this ship right here. Now, for the character that we are going to play as, we're going to play as a priest. We haven't covered that previously. Since we're playing as for the Blood Elves, we would play as a mage. I would select a female mage this time for the Blood Elves, and also a female priest for the Draenei. So he won't be looking like this guy right here. Well, I'm in shadow form right now. But we will be looking like a cute Draenei girl with some hooves. Hooves on. But we haven't talked about the class known as the priest. So the priest can choose between 3 different specs. He can choose between a discipline spec. He uses magic to shield allies from taking damage as well as to heal their wounds. Basically acting like a buffer. You can use shields like the power word shield here, which will decrease damage done to enemies. Give them a shield like this one. Also healing them with a couple of spells like penance and a prayer of healing and a holy nova, which is a really cool AoE spread attack. They can also choose to be a holy spec, which is also a healer, and they are a versatile healer who can reverse damage on individuals or groups and even heal from beyond the grave. So if you die as a holy priest, you can surface as a holy spirit and heal people back up. Get some prayers here and some circle of healings and renew. This will all be changed in Legion, of course, and further expansions further on if you watch this in the future. Hello. And lastly, we have the Shadow spec. Interesting. So this is the complete opposite to these two guys. Holy being focused on using the light. As I said, the Naaru and these beings gave the Draenei exceptional power with the light. That's why I chose to play as a Draenei priest. But Shadow uses this is a spec that is focused on damage. Uses sinister shadow magic, especially damage over time spells, to eradicate enemies. So this is the complete opposite. It's focused heavily on using void magic, dark magic, to deal damage to the minds of others. We have the shadow form here, increasing shadow damage, and you can only use dark spells while in shadow form. It looks like this right here. Looks really cool though. They also get this shadow word pain. A word of darkness that causes shadow damage and additional shadow damage over time, and also devouring plague. And a Mind Blast, really cool. Deals damage to the mind and the body, corrupting the world. I don't think this is the same source of magic as the Affliction Warlock uses. I think the Affliction Warlock uses Fel magic to deal with the diseases and stuff. Necromantic magic and stuff like that is usually Fel magic, I believe. The Nathrazim, I think they're connected to the Fel magic of the Burning Legion. But this magic is tied to the Void, I believe. And the Void is tied to the Old Gods. And the beginning of the universe as well. So I've talked about this in another video, the origin story for Sargeras and the purpose of Sargeras, why he created the Burning Legion and why he sent it towards Azeroth. If you haven't seen that video already, then I recommend that you check it out if you want more information. As you can see here, there are Blood Elves here. Why are these guys here? Well, I think they are actually following the Draenei ship, because these guys were following Kael'thas into Tempest Keep, as I said previously, and the Tempest, well, the Draenei managed to capture the Exodar and escape. I think these guys maybe followed them from Kael'thas' army and tried to get them down. And so this is like not the same guys as the Draenei or at the Blood Elves in Sunstrider, or I guess in Quel'Thalas. But yeah, here we have their leader. Strangely enough, a Draenei infused with fell magic, as you can see with the eyes here. She has turned to the Burning Legion, and she is an eredar, or I guess a Man'ari, which is plot twist right there. Another famous Man'ari is Sokwerthar, boss in Hellfire Citadel in Warlords of Draenor, and also one of the like elite mobs in Burning Crusade as well. What was I talking about? Anyway, I talked about Priest, wasn't I? Shadow Magic and the Void Lords. So about when the time was the Great Dark Beyond, the universe was created. There was two forces, the forces of the Void, the Darkness, and the forces of Light. And they both fused together and created the universe as we know it. They created the arcane power and which is basically what created this world here. And it also created the Twisting Nether as a consequence. So priests are actually really cool, heavily underrated in my opinion. I've never liked to play a priest, but lore-wise they control like the basic powers of the universe, the light and the darkness, which is really cool lore-wise. So yeah, might be cool to continue on with playing a priest. That would be kind of nice. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This was all I had to talk about the Draenei. If I forgot something, leave it in the comment section below and remind me, and I will cover it in a later episode. So next off, the next episode of this series will be a short intermission. I'll give some information about what is going to happen next, because now we're done with all the starting zones. We've covered a lot of zones already. Oh my god, we've done one, well technically one, and two, technically two, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, lots of zones. So we have gotten progress pretty far now, guys. We've done a good job. Thanks for keeping up with the watching. You guys are awesome for still supporting me. I love you guys. Yeah, I'll talk about what we're going to do next. You'll be able to vote for a different character, for different characters actually, for different zones that we're going to continue through, and that'll be a lot of fun. Make sure to like the video and share it with your friends if you think they'll enjoy it as well, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I've been Crudless, and you've been freaking awesome for staying with us so long. Oh my god, I love you guys. So see you guys next time, and farewell until then, I guess. Yeah, bye bye. Oh, 7 wave, there we go. Bye bye.